Now, we're going to be talking about prevalence information. So do you think there is a problem with deaf people connected with drug and alcohol use? Do you think it's different than hearing people? I've shared some information with you that may indicate it's more than hearing people. However, we don't have enough data to know for sure, other than the research that we've discussed. But we don't have a lot of information. So we assume, yes, there's a problem that's equal to or greater than that of the hearing population. So why do you think we don't have enough information to show this kind of number? Again, there's a lot of reasons for this. First, we don't have enough professionals providing service to this population in this area. The Minnesota program has collected demographic information since opening in 1989. So between the time the program opened and now, if you think about all of the individuals who have gone to treatment there, which is over 1,600, most of those individuals have been males, not females. And in fact, when the program first opened, there were no females the first year going into treatment. Now, if we compare this with the hearing population and when treatment programs first got started, generally speaking, stereotypically, a lot of hearing men would be working and stopping at bars and getting drunk, maybe getting into barroom brawls. And when, again, you think generally speaking, stereotypically, back then, women would be home taking care of children, more passively drinking. And there aren't a lot of programs available out there serving deaf individuals, as I've shared. So suppose that a couple both need treatment. Deaf individuals actually have to choose who's going to go to treatment first, which isn't fair. In the hearing population, there are more options. This is another example of why we need more access to treatment. So the demographic information will be available in this class for you to review. But generally speaking, we see from the statistics that if we look at the male and females that have entered treatment, most have been between the ages of 25 and 43. Now, if you think about special education, it's provided for individuals who are deaf until they're 21, turning 22. Vocational rehab counselors are involved when students are in high school and getting ready to transition to some kind of training program or post-secondary education for when they finish high school. And most individuals may finish high school at age 18, even though legally they're entitled to education until they're 21, turning 22. But we found that in the middle of their 20s, these individuals start to get into more trouble, and they might end up coming into treatment because they've hit their bottom, they've started to have legal consequences, they're not getting rescued as much, and so they tend to enter treatment at that time. When the Minnesota program first opened in 1989, it was originally set up for adolescents, not adults. It was supposed to serve people from 12 to 18 years of age. So if you think about the statistics, there really aren't many, as you'll see, that were under the age of 18 that ever went to treatment. In fact, if you look at the female population, there was actually only 5 individuals that came to treatment. So do you think this means that adolescents who are deaf don't have problems with drugs and alcohol? No. But if you think about it, and we go back to the issue of enabling, there aren't a lot of natural consequences that are always given. Teachers may try and cover up or rescue or take care of those students rather than giving them help they need or natural consequences. So when the Minnesota program first opened, we had 7 clients, all that were under the age of 18. And then after that, there were 0 clients entering treatment. And the program is part of a nonprofit hospital. However, you cannot sustain a program with 0 individuals. At that time, we actually wrote a grant, a federal grant, through an agency called SAMHSA, SAMHSA, And we actually were able to get funded, which helped us get through those years. And we then transitioned to serving adults. So on the other end of the spectrum, statistically, if you think about older individuals, the program had an individual that came in over the age of 70. And sometimes we tend to think about the younger population having issues with drugs and alcohol more than elderly. And the research I just shared showed that there may not be more difficulties with individuals deaf over the age of 50, but there are issues that happen for that population. For older people, maybe they've had more death they've witnessed, maybe their partners have died, and other things that have happened because of the elderly population. They may drink more. They're suffering from greater loss, from depression, and they want to cover it up and not think about it. The individual actually that came years ago to the Minnesota program was Mennonite and from a community out east, and the family wanted them to come to treatment because they had recently lost their wife and was staying home drinking a great deal. And again, it's a population we need to remember. Now, Minnesota serves people from around the United States. And Minnesota hasn't always had a huge diverse kind of population just based on the geographic location. It's tended to be more white, non-Hispanic. And you'll be able to see that breakdown in the information shared with the class. The other interesting thing to think about is that the majority of people that have entered the treatment program tend to be unemployed. And remember, I had completed a small study, and it showed that those that I followed up for a year had better success at staying sober if they were employed than unemployed. So it's something we need to keep in mind as well. In terms of funding, the big issue going on currently has to do with Medicare funding. In the past, Minnesota was able to accept that. Currently, there's a copay. Now, historically, since the program opened, many individuals have come into treatment who have been on Medicare. And those individuals have lessened being able to come in because they have to pay sometimes up to $10,000 for this copay. In the past, there was grant money available that the hospital themselves provided, so they would assist with the copay or cover it in its entirety. So this has really caused problems with the census for those coming into the Minnesota program. There used to be on average 5 to 7 people in treatment, and now there's times when there's no one in treatment. So because of the smaller numbers, they're being provided treatment in a mainstream setting with a deaf counselor available as needed, as well as deaf staff in the evenings and weekends to provide some support. But that's really a concern for many of us. So you'll be able to continue reviewing some of these statistics that I've shared with you and find out more about the number of states Minnesota has served and other kinds of demographic information that's available. Thank you.